Good to go here, Ken.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome to our Semaphore simulation here on the 3rd of September 2023. We're joining you from Tullynally Castle, the conservatory on the east side here, and we are also joining you from Edgeworthstown Manor. And we are going to be simulating the transmission of semaphore messaging from Edgeworthstown to Tullynally and back, dating from around 1794. So it's been some time. So I'm just going to stop share just for 1 second, if you bear with me for a check. And I just want to make one other modification here. And sorry now, folks. And this is the agenda we have going forward here. So I just give you a quick overview of the logistics that we have today. And we are simulating the semaphore transmission, except that in 1794, they were communicating through line of sight basis. Whereas today, instead of having to do stop points in the nearby hill, we're using modern technology here via Zoom technology to simulate the transmission of the semaphore, the visibility of the semaphore. The semaphores themselves are soundless, as was the situation in 1794. And it's just a demonstration here to show you how quickly you could actually send messages between them. And I will ask everybody who is in to please see if they can mute out when they come in. I have muted out that last visitor reception connection that came in there, so that's fine. Without further ado, I'm going to press on now, and I'm going to ask Octavia Tulloch to say a few words on behalf of Tullynally Castle. And in addition, I would just like to say that we have a last-minute message from Lord Longford Thomas Pakenham himself, so we're hoping to incorporate that at the end of this initial communication. So I'm just going to hand over now in 1 sec to Octavia to introduce the presentation.
Hello, how are you? I'm representing the Pakenhams from the conservatory on the east side of Tullynally. Thomas is going to join us shortly, just in a video. He sends his apologies. Liza's around here as well, but she's not in shot. So we've got a couple of Pakenhams, one way or another, receiving the semaphore messages. We're really delighted to participate in the reenactment of the 1794 event between Richard Lovell Edgeworth and the second Earl of Longford.
Recording in progress.
And had only just inherited the title in the late January 1794, following the death of his grandmother, the first Countess, Elizabeth Cuff. So instead of reenacting this event using the hilltops that would have been used then, we're going to use modern communication methods. As you can already see, that's what we're doing. And we've got a semaphore in the room with us, rather than out on the hill across the field or on the front terrace. We do think the original semaphore messages were sent either from Tower Hill to the west, directly to Edgeworthstown, which is a distance of 17.98 miles, or from the south terrace to Knockiron, which is a hill due south-southeast, and the distance from there across the Cool Bog to Edgeworthstown House is 12.5 miles. We found reference this morning to the fact that the telescope could be used to see a distance of at least 18 miles. So it's quite feasible that either of those were used. I'm just going to pass you over to Thomas's recording now, or rather Ken is. How's that going? Do you want to do that now, Ken?
Yes, we're going to give that a bash now. So thank you very much for that. And I'll just stop the video there. And now this is an experiment here to share the screen to see if we can get Thomas up. So, and he's only sent this today, so fair play to him. It's great to see him here. And let's see if this can.
I would like to welcome everybody to this great idea of reconstructing the famous semaphore. It was from this mound opposite the front door at Tullynally, then an ordinary plain Georgian building. and the Lord Lieutenant seems to have failed to take up the idea. I don't quite know why it wasn't pursued in 1794, but by 1798 the French had landed and there was no Semaphore to tell the government back in Dublin, and it took them correspondingly a long time to organize the counterattack. And of course that's when the races of Castlebar took place, when the British army really ran away. The French beat them in 1798, and then of course the Lord Lieutenant, Lord Cornwallis, got a larger force together and overwhelming numbers, and the French surrendered at Ballinamuck. And the day after Ballinamuck, or the evening of the British victory, they came to Tullynally, and there in front of, in the field in front of the house, they camped, the army, British army camped, and the Lord Lieutenant, I'm sure, had a bed inside. Anyway, welcome to everybody. Lovely to talk to you. I'm sorry I can't be with you. Bye.
So that's excellent. Thank you very much from Thomas. And I'm going to stop the share now, and just going to hand over now to Matt Farrell in the Maria Edgeworth Centre. And just to mention as well, we are recording the session on Zoom for the use of the Maria Edgeworth Centre and Tullynally Castle. So that recording is in place at the moment. So I'll hand over now to Matt, if you can say a few words, Matt, please. And everybody else, if you can stay muted out, please, until called on. Thank you.
Welcome to Edgeworthstown House. My name is Matt Farrell, and I'd like to give a special welcome to some people that are joining us wireless from Japan and England. I think Bernard Canavan, our colleague, is joining us from England. Edgeworthstown House is the former house of Richard Lovell Edgeworth and his large family. He had 22 children. It was from here he dreamed of impossible things and carried out some remarkable feats. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Edgeworth Society to welcome you to this special occasion. Since 1969, when the Society was founded, we have endeavoured to keep these dreams alive and to remember and acknowledge the contribution made to society by this remarkable family. We have all known how the power of communications is today. In 1794, Edgeworth also saw the power of communications, and he designed one of the earliest systems of communications in the country. Indeed, he sent the first overseas message from Northern Ireland to Scotland. Today, 90-year-old Ray Jordan, with the support of his family and friends, will simulate an event that took place near this spot 229 years ago in 1794. We thank Ray for all his hard work in pulling this together, and we hope you enjoy the afternoon. Edgeworthstown at this period of our history was the seat of the Enlightenment, and many European eminent scientists and scholars visited this place. Many wonderful developments began here, including the foundations of our primary school system and the publication of many works and novels by one of the earliest female novelists, Maria Edgeworth. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Matt, for that contribution very much. And now we're just going to call on Dr. Joanna Wharton from the University of York, who has a significant involvement with the project and the Maria Edgeworth Centre. Over to you, Joanna.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here, albeit only virtually. I'd first like to thank Ray for involving me in this project and to warmly congratulate him and his dedicated team for making this event happen. Richard Lovell Edgeworth was, as we'll hear, a man with a dream. It takes a great deal of imagination, energy, and tenacity to bring such dreams to life. And I think these are things that link our present day telegraphers with those of the past. My own work on the telegraph stems from my research on Maria Edgeworth's literary work. As many of you will know, she worked closely with her father on many things, including the promotion of his telegraph. With him, she wrote an essay on the art of conveying secret and swift intelligence, which was published in the Transactions of the Royal Irish Academy in 1797. It's a fascinating text, one that blends literature and science, and I think it also conveys the magic of communicating at a distance. The telegraph also appears in various different guises in several of Maria Edgeworth's fictions. In one of her tales for children called The White Pigeon, a boy rescues a bird from a white pigeon, of course, the same as the title, and he trains it as a messenger. Like Richard Lovell Edgeworth, he exhibits it to demonstrate its usefulness. And after the pigeon successfully communicates the price of beef at the market, the boy's neighbours pay him to send messages with it. However, a gang of robbers who are planning to attack the big house capture the pigeon, showing how such innovations, such technologies can be appropriated for very different and competing purposes. In the end, of course, order is restored. And I think that this tale, written around the time of the 1798 rebellion, shows that Maria Edgeworth associated the telegraph with her own ideas of security in Ireland. The Edgeworths hoped that in time, the telegraph, like the white pigeon, would be used for commercial purposes, but it was initially proposed to the government as a military technology. As a mode of conveying secret and swift intelligence, I would suggest that in some ways it separated even as it united. Nevertheless, it prompted dreams of communication across borders and linguistic boundaries, and it stands as a testament to the human drive for connection and innovation. It reminds us that the desire to communicate has always been a profound human trait. I think the telegraph must have been quite a spectacle. We can perhaps picture its operators within their respective towers, watching each other through telescopes and waiting for the giant isosceles, as Maria called it, to start moving. To transmit a message, they engaged in a very carefully choreographed performance with the telegraph spinning pointer. And actually, when I watched Ray do a test run the other day, it struck me that it was almost like a dance. So today we'll have the privilege of witnessing a reenactment of this spectacle, this telegraphic dance. This event bridges the gap between past and present, highlighting that communication remains a timeless pursuit, whether conveyed through 18th century visual systems or modern digital platforms, or indeed an ingenious mixture of both. I'll now pass the virtual floor to Ray, who will guide us through the demonstration and its background.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for an excellent presentation as ever. And just bear with me 1 second, and I will try to share the presentation from Ray, which will take up to 20 minutes. And just give me a couple of seconds.
Agwini Ushla, welcome to our Zoom session, coming to you from 2 special locations. Today we are gathered in both Edgeworthstown, or Oscuelga, Mahas Trim, and Tullynally, which Oscuelga is Tullynally, or the Hill of the Swans. Both of these locations are quite well known on the Irish tourist trail. Edgeworthstown because of its connection to Maria Edgeworth and her writings, and Tullynally for its gardens and castle tours. But because by its very name, Tullynally conjures up visions of the children of Lir, who, according to legend, spent hundreds of years on nearby Lough Derravara. And so, to us Irish, this place has a special significance. But today I want to introduce you to Richard Lovell Edgeworth, who, in August of the year 1794, sent a semaphore signal from his home at the Manor, Edgeworthstown, to Tullynally. What was his reason for doing that, I can hear you say. But before I answer, I should like to tell you a little about the man himself. He was without doubt a very far-seeing person, with a special interest in education coupled with an inventive mind, and had many inventions to his credit. Today, however, I should like to tell you of his semaphore, and of his efforts to have it adopted by the government for both defence and commercial reasons. So now I would like to invite you to take a mind journey with me back in time to 1794. Looking closely at this slide, we can see that Richard envisaged his semaphore stations as consisting of 4 substantial 25-foot towers, each capable of supporting 20-foot pointers, and presumably the pointer axes would be capable of rotation so as to face either the preceding or succeeding stations. This, as you can imagine, would be an expensive system to construct and maintain, and perhaps even more importantly, to staff adequately. Richard, I believe, felt each station would require at least an observer to watch for signals and a signaller to set the required digits. Whether he planned on having that level of staffing for each of the towers, I don't know. And so, because of the projected cost of such a system, the government, I think understandably, never sanctioned the project in that configuration. The project, which was Richard's dream, was to initially set up a semaphore system between Dublin and Galway. It so happened Richard had also designed a portable semaphore, and as this slide shows, it was much simpler in construction and supported 6-foot or 12-foot pointers. I believe it was by using such semaphores Richard was able to demonstrate his system to various influential individuals and societies, such as the Royal Irish Academy. For our purpose of simulating his initial demonstration between Edgeworthstown and Tullynally in 1794, we have constructed a portable semaphore with 4-foot pointers. Eventually his dream came true when, 10 years after his Edgeworthstown to Tullynally demonstration, he successfully constructed a link between Dublin and Galway. In my next slide, I will introduce you to the reasoning behind his system so that you may more fully follow the story. With this slide, I would like to explain the logic behind Richard's concept of a semaphore system. It is based on the fact that humans like going angles. An example of this inbuilt talent would be the desire in most of us to straighten pictures on a wall, which is all right so long as it's your picture on your wall. To illustrate the point, I set up a small semaphore at home, hence the floral background, by which to show you how the digits 0 and 1 to 7 are portrayed. This will allow you to more easily follow the story. The vertical or home position is designated 0. Of every 45 degrees after equates to a digit. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 0. The next slide shows. From this slide you can see Edgeworthstown House and his wife and one of the children on one of the lawns. In fact, we won't be very far from that lawn when we are actually sending our signal to Tullynally. But at the time, let's stay back in 1794. Richard's main problem was in trying to convince the government of the need for a good communication channel between Dublin and Galway. This, you must remember, was in the time when the Napoleonic threat was at its greatest. And in fact, 4 years later, in 1798, the French actually landed in Killala, and this most certainly proved his point. This slide is from an early experiment carried out by John when we were actually considering using repeater stations between the Manor and Tullynally. These little semaphores were only 3 feet in size, and yet, without too much magnification, they could be seen to represent the digits 3, 1 at a distance of 200 metres. Shortly after that, I decided we would not resort to having to build and staff possibly 4 semaphores. Instead, I decided to use modern technology in the form of the web to link the Manor and Tullynally. I reasoned the end result would be the same, in that station Edgeworthstown would set a digit and station Tullynally would observe it. I felt that Richard would approve of our using the best technology available. When I put this to our team, the purists were not happy, but gave in gracefully, and so we were able to really plan the project. John then took on the task of constructing 2 semaphores, and we were able to settle on a design using 4-foot pointers. In this slide, I like to think he and his daughter Maria and Francis Beaufort discussed this issue and decided he would need to demonstrate his system to important people. Where better to start than from his home to Lord Longford at Tullynally, a mere 12 miles away. Before moving on with the story, I would like to say that Francis Beaufort, who was a native of Navan, was a famous hydrographer and who was the inventor of the Beaufort wind scale, still used to this day in weather forecasts. The Beaufort Sea is also named after him, as are other institutions. He was also related by marriage to the Edgeworth family. I have covered their cooperation with each other on the Dublin to Galway link more fully in a recently published article in Ireland's Eye magazine. I called it Two Remarkable Men. So now let us move on with our story. From quite close to where this little wigwam was placed, we will set up our semaphore to send messages to Tullynally, about 12 miles away. Early this year, when we were still thinking of using actual semaphore repeaters, John took this telescopic view east, and you can clearly see a hill in the distance. This encouraged us originally to think we could possibly make the link to Tullynally in 2 hops. In the next slide, you can see from the map that this looked promising. Looking at the map, you can see the terrain between Edgeworthstown and Tullynally is lower than at either end, and this also was promising. We felt that the hill John viewed from Edgeworthstown was the one circled in red, and which was only 3 miles from Tullynally. This, however, turned out to be only of academic interest when we decided to use the internet as our link. You can also see how close Tullynally is to Lough Derravara, home. From this slide, you can see where I had made a drawing of the proposed semaphore. You can also notice I seem to use the backs of envelopes for my initial design drawings. The final finished semaphores are more or less as per the original drawing, with the exception that I used 4-foot pointers for our 2 semaphores. From this back of an envelope drawing, you will see how I envisaged setting up the link. I reasoned that each of the locations would consist of a camera or iPhone looking at a semaphore, and also a screen or other iPhone showing the image of the far semaphore. If you think about it, that is very close to what had actually taken place, in that we had substituted modern devices for telescopes. The semaphores were still the same. I really like to think Richard would approve. In this slide, you can see the timber work that was done in order to construct our semaphores. This was at a relatively early stage in their manufacture. We thought it best to try and use as much as possible of the same materials as might have been available in an estate carpenter's shop in the 1700s to construct the semaphore. John searched high and low for such as furniture legs and an old table, in order to be as close to what Richard would have used as possible. I think when you see the finished article, you will agree he did a pretty good job. The original semaphore signals between Edgeworthstown and Tullynally, we believe, were sent in August of 1794. This was the first of very many such demonstrations and letter writing, which Richard and all family members, but particularly Maria, engaged in. Finally, in 1803, permission was granted for the construction of a single tower type link between Dublin and Galway. This was completed in 1804. Let us now, in the next slide, see what tactical advantage this brought to the table. In this slide, I like to think I both pose and answer the question as to how quickly a message could be sent and a reply received between Dublin and Galway in the year 1804. My main problem was in deciding how fast and for how long a horse might be expected to gallop. I then thought of the Pony Express in the United States, and as they had a great number of stages, I felt their average figure of 12 miles per hour for an hour would be a good yardstick. Based on that figure, I believe 10 to 12 hours one way would be a reasonable estimate to cover the Dublin to Galway distance. Richard's telegraph was able to deliver a message in an amazing 8 minutes and have a response in 20. You don't have to be a tactician to see the huge benefit that brings. I'm sure Richard and Frances were very pleased with that result and could have reasonably expected ongoing usage, if not expansion, of their system. However, that was not to be, as the threat of a Napoleonic invasion diminished and the project was abandoned. I have included this slide showing the advertisement for the riders for the Pony Express because it shows how factually such a job was actually advertised. Modern sensibilities would never allow for such an advertisement. William Cody, otherwise known as Buffalo Bill, claimed to have been an express rider. I'm sure you will forgive me if I read out the wording used. Pony Express, St. Joseph, Missouri to California in 10 days or less. Wanted, young, skinny, wiry fellows, not over 18, must be expert riders, willing to risk death daily. Orphans preferred. Wages $25 a week. Apply Pony Express Stables, St. Joseph, Missouri. I would think $25 a week was quite high and tempting for the type of person they were looking for. In this slide, I have shown the stations forming the link between Dublin, Kilmainham and Galway, William Street. Castleknock, Kappa, Shane, Knockdrin, Arden, Tillamook, Knockdominey, Lisdiller, Mackney, Killarney, Derrydonnell, Merlin and William Street. We may decide in the future to do a project connected to this link sometime in the future. This slide, titled Directions for Semaphore Stations, shows, if you like, the rules of the game to be followed by those who are signallers or observers. 1. All semaphores to be normally at rest position 0. 2. Station wishing to initiate a signal shall twirl 3 times clockwise. 3. Station observing this and ready to receive will twirl 3 times anti-clockwise. Station sending shall set message digit number 1. Then observing station will mirror this digit. Sending station will then reset to 0 and observing station will then reset to 0. Station sending shall then set message digit number 2. Observing station will mirror this digit. In the event that there are no further digits to be sent, sending station shall vibrate 3 times around 0. This to be taken as end of message. In other words, more or less a full stop. Observing station will then vibrate 3 times around 0 to acknowledge. It is important, I think, to realize the message content was already at both locations in a book. The signal digits only referred to a page in the book. That was the basis for Richard's system and was different to the French and English systems, which actually sent signals as text. Richard felt his system was more secure. I will now hand over to Ken, who is overall controller. But before I do, I would like to thank Miss Afric Lydon, who showed me how to incorporate sound on the slides. Thank you, Afric. Over to you, Ken.
Thank you indeed. We're now just going to move on to the meat of it here, and that is the actual sending of the messages. So semaphore operators, if you can go to the semaphores, please. And I will try to spotlight the 2 semaphores. Bear with me while I spotlight Edgeworthstown. So now we should have the 2 key semaphores spotlighted, and we are ready to start our transmission. And just bear with me 1 second. Now, how we got that ready? Operators seem to be ready. And so the first transmission today is going to be, well, the first time since 1794. We're now going to transmit from Edgeworthstown to Tullynally. And I would, in computing terms, you would always establish a communications via an electronic handshake, typical in IP technology, which underlies the internet. But in the case of the semaphores, we must have a manual mechanism to do that. So the mechanism is that I will ask Edgeworthstown now to twirl clockwise 3 times, please, to set up the handshake. Thank you. And to confirm the handshake now, I'll ask for Tullynally to rotate 3 times anti-clockwise. Thank you. That's the handshake set up now, and quite similar to IP technology handshaking for message establishment between A to B points. So I'll now ask Edgeworthstown if you can send the first digit, please, in your message. And that's the digit 2. And can we have that confirmed at the Tullynally side, please? Excellent, thank you. And return to 0, please, Edgeworthstown. And confirm that back to Asset in Tullynally. Very good. And will you send your second digit now, please, in Edgeworthstown? And that is the digit 1. And can you confirm receipt here in Tullynally? Excellent, thank you. And that, if you are finished now in Edgeworthstown, can you go back to 0? And will you confirm that back to 0, please, Tullynally? And if you are finished your message now, will you vibrate each side of 0? And if you can confirm that, please, at Tullynally. Okay, and now I'll just ask here for the first time since 1794, I'll just ask Octavia if you can read the message that you, from the manual, which is obviously referenced by the digits, what message have you received from Edgeworthstown Manor?
We have received message number 21. From the House of Edgeworth to the House of Pakenham, greetings via my telegraph.
Excellent, thank you. And we are now going to send the reply back from Tullynally. So I'll just ask the Tullynally operator here, because we have the handshake established, will you indicate your first digit, please? Okay, that's the digit number 3. Can you confirm receipt at Edgeworthstown, please? And note that these are completely silent camera environments there, and that is confirmed at number 3. And reset to 0, please, Tullynally. Confirm Edgeworthstown. And now, Tullynally, will you send your second digit, please? And will you confirm Edgeworthstown, please? And that is the digit 1. So back to 0, please, Tullynally. And confirm Edgeworthstown, back at 0. And Tullynally, if we're finished that message, will you vibrate either side of 0? Confirm, please, at Edgeworthstown. And that is now confirmed as completed. And Edgeworthstown, can I ask you what message in reply you received from Tullynally?
From the House of Pakenham to the House of Edgeworth, greetings also via your telegraph.
Excellent. Well, that completes the first message since 1794 via this mechanism. And entirely silent semaphore devices. Okay, our second message is going to be sent also again by Edgeworthstown. Now, we have established the handshake, and like in modern digital technology, we don't need to re-establish it because we haven't dropped the link. So we will press on to sending the second message, the message to be sent. First digit, please, to be sent by Edgeworthstown. And if you can confirm receipt here, please, in Tullynally. That's the number 2. And back to 0 for Edgeworthstown, please. And confirm, please, Tullynally. Number digit 2 received. And your second digit, please, Edgeworthstown. Digit 2 again transmitted. And confirm, please, Edgeworthstown. That is confirmed. If you're finished, Edgeworthstown, it's been confirmed by Tullynally. Back to 0, please. Confirmed back to 0 for Tullynally. And Edgeworthstown, if you are finished message sending, please vibrate. And confirm that, please, at Tullynally. Okay, so digits number 22 have now been transmitted. And in the manual, I will ask Octavia to read the message she has received.
Message received from Edgeworthstown. French people seen at Ballinamuck.
Okay, French people seen at Ballinamuck. There'll be a lot more welcome this day and age than in 1794, I expect. So that will probably dictate elements of the response now. So we have the handshake in place, as I said. So we're now going to send the reply to the message from Tullynally. So Tullynally, will you send your first digit, please? Digit number 3, thank you. And can you confirm receipt in Edgeworthstown? Excellent, 3 received, confirmed. And back to 0, please, Tullynally. Back to 0, Edgeworthstown. And Tullynally, send your second digit, please. Okay, a gust of wind caught it there. So digit number 2 sent, and confirm, please, at Edgeworthstown. Thank you. And if you can reset to 0, Tullynally, and confirm that also Edgeworthstown. And if you're finished transmitting here at Tullynally, will you vibrate, please? And also then confirm, please, the vibration at Edgeworthstown. So that message has now been confirmed as received. So the message that was sent from Edgeworthstown was French people seen at Ballinamuck. Great news these days. But back then, maybe not so. And the reply from Tullynally to Edgeworthstown, over to you, Matt, please. What did that reply say?
Welcoming party to meet the French visitors is in place.
Excellent, and probably not quite as welcoming as in 2023. So, so the next one here now, we have a further message now to be sent by Edgeworthstown. And Edgeworthstown, the operator may have been assaulted or attacked by the French. No, he's back. He hasn't been attacked. Excellent. He's still there. So we now have the third message. So the handshake is still in place. So can you please send your first digit, please, Edgeworthstown? That's the digit number 2. Thank you. And Tullynally, can you confirm that? Number 2 confirmed. And return to 0, Edgeworthstown, please. Return to 0, Tullynally. And Edgeworthstown, if you were finished that, oh, sorry, your second digit, that was number 2, we said. So send your second digit, please. Thank you. Number 3 sent. And can we confirm that received in Tullynally on the visible connection? That's great. 3 received. Back to 0 for Edgeworthstown. Back to 0 for Tullynally. And the sender, if you can just vibrate there to say that you are finished. That's Edgeworthstown, thank you. Confirm that there in Tullynally. So, message number 23 has been sent from Edgeworthstown. And will you now say what that message reads?
Mariah and family en route to Tullynally.
Excellent. So Mariah and family are en route to Tullynally, as I'm sure they did many times. And now we will send the reply from Tullynally. So Tullynally, can you send your first digit, please? Number 3, thank you very much. Can you confirm Edgeworthstown? And back, that's number 3 confirmed. And back to 0, please. Confirm back at 0. Second digit, please, of the reply from Tullynally. Another 3 sent. Confirmed as received by Edgeworthstown. Back to 0, thank you. 0 eyes at Edgeworthstown. And as sender, Tullynally, can you vibrate, please? Confirm that the end of the message is there. Great, and we have to wait for Edgeworthstown to vibrate. Thank you very much. So not taken by the French, I see. Excellent. And so the message that has been transmitted back, the one received from Edgeworthstown was Maria and family en route to Tullynally. And Tullynally have sent back message number 33 to Edgeworthstown. So can someone read that, please, Matt?
We look forward to greeting Mariah and family.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So that's our third message. So we have one more to go here, and then a final single message with no reply is the plan. We are asking Edgeworthstown actually to send this one, I think, here. So Edgeworthstown, can you send your first digit there when you're ready, please, if you have not been abducted? Thank you. So message number 4, first digit, and that's a 2. Can we confirm receipt of a 2 there? Yeah, that's excellent. And back to 0, Edgeworthstown. 0 is back, confirmed from Tullynally. So that's 2 sent. And next digit, please, from Edgeworthstown. And that's due south there. That's the number 4. And confirm. 4 confirmed. Edgeworthstown back to 0, please. Replicate that back to 0, please. Top dead center there. And Edgeworthstown, if you're finished, can you rotate? Can you vibrate, please? Sent our 2 messages there, 2 digits rather, and confirm. So Edgeworthstown have now sent the digits 2, 4, and what does that read here?
We wish for us both to have a good season.
Excellent. And we will now send back the reply here from Tullynally. So Tullynally will send it as soon as the Edgeworthstown operator is back at post. Just wait for 1 second there now. It could be a French abduction again. No, it's still not. Excellent. So, message from Tullynally as a reply. The message received was wish us both to have a good season. And can you send your first digit, please? That's the digit 3, confirmed by Edgeworthstown. Back to 0, please, sender. Back to 0, receiver. Digit 3 sent, and send your second digit, please, from Tullynally. Juice out there, that's number 4, and confirm in Edgeworthstown. Thank you. That's confirmed. Back to 0, please, sender. Back to 0, receiver. And sender, if Tullynally, just vibrate there if you're finished with your message sending. Confirm. Okay, digits number 3, 4 have been sent in response to the message we wish for us both to have a good season. Message number 3, 4 was sent. Matt, can you tell us what that reads?
Yes, and also continued success to your excellent Mariah Edgeworth Centre and Museum.
Excellent, thank you. So the very last message, just a single message transfer from Edgeworthstown, and can you please send your first digit of that final message, please, in Edgeworthstown, number 2. Can we confirm that here? Receipt. Number 2, confirmed received. Back to 0 for the transmitter. Thank you. Back to receiver, back to 0. And second digit, please, from Edgeworthstown. That's a digit 5. Okay. And can we confirm that digit, please? Excellent. Number 5 was confirmed as received. And back to 0 from Edgeworthstown, please. That's it. Use that rotation, yeah. And confirm that with Tullynally, back to 0. Thank you. Shortest path. So can you vibrate there in Edgeworthstown if you have finished that? And Tullynally, do you confirm that? Correct. Okay, we have received digit number 25, and that represents the message that says,
Thank you, and happy birthday to Thomas and Ray.
who were 90 years of age this last month, actually, both of them, which is quite interesting. So congratulations to them. So excellent. I can ask the operators, you can stand away from your semaphores now, because that completes that element of the demonstration. I will take off the spotlights off those semaphores and get us back to, if I can find it here, I have it here, thank you. So those of us that are here, so now it's in the agenda here, we have just an open chat. If anybody wishes to have a few comments or discussion, please feel free to raise your hand electronically, preferably, or if not, you can just unmute yourself there, maybe one at a time. So I just check the chat box. So mainly control messages in the chat box and the chat box, I should say. So I'll give it about a minute or so here to see are there any questions. What you can see is, I do believe, is the speed with which the messages can be transferred once the handshake is in place and you have visibility. So it is quite a quick method for transmitting messages that are pre-encoded. So that is pretty obvious. Okay, now I'm going to press on now as nobody is raising their hand that I can see. And I'm going to move towards the conclusion of the event here. And I'm going to ask Octavia then to say a few words here in conclusion from Tullynally.
I think that was a really extraordinary thing to do. And I know that Valerie Pakenham would have enjoyed it a great deal. She, as you all know, was a great expert on Maria Edgeworth and has read more of her letters to and from her than anyone that any of us know, and compiled that wonderful book, Letters from Ireland, Maria Edgeworth Letters from Ireland. So I wanted to remember Val at this moment and move on to thanking you all for your contribution, and what a great idea, Ray. We really enjoyed working on this.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Next up, just to conclude the event, because we like to stay on time here, is Matt Farrell. Over to you, Matt, to say a few words from the amazing Edgeworth Centre.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate what Octavia has just said, and I'd like to thank all those people who joined us remotely, and a special thanks to all the people that came to Edgeworthstown here for this reenactment. So, and just to say, in connection with the French, we are currently trying to plan an event in Paris in 2025. And we'll keep you updated on that. So thank you very much, and a special thanks to Ray and to the management and staff of the Manor Nursing Home here in Edgeworthstown, who are always willing to help us out on any of our projects, and also to welcome visitors to the gardens. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. And might I add that when in regards to the French, we also plan earlier hostilities than that in Paris, hopefully, as Ireland competes in the Rugby World Cup in a couple of weeks' time in La Belle France. So, but we look forward to that event in 2025. And next up, I just want to call on Joanna Wharton to have a few closing words.
Hi, yeah, that was brilliant. Well done to all of you. Absolutely fascinating. So wonderful to see it actually in action. And I have to say that that very small, perhaps planned error made it all the more historically accurate, because it was prone to human error. And so, yeah, actually, it was really good to see just maybe some very small kind of missteps as well. It was all brilliant. Well done, all of you. And also, Ken, I think you might have a second career in store as a presenter, because that was really very well handled, very well presented. And happy birthday as well to Ray and Thomas. And yeah, thank you, everyone. It was really great to watch.
Thanks very much, Joanna. Always a pleasure to hear you. And you've made a great contribution here to the Midlands. That's appreciated, especially as coming from a Longford man myself, and my first time involved in technological activity in the Midlands here, which is great, great pleasure, I have to say. So I'll hand over now just for the last comments from Ray, who came up with the whole concept.
May I say that I have to read this because I'm at that rather delightful stage in life where you sort of forget things. It has certain advantages, of course, because you can sometimes choose what to actually forget. But I would like to say what a wonderful experience this project has been for me. Wonderful in that an idea I had first in 1994 has finally come to pass. I had planned when I was working for Telecom Éireann that 10 years on from 1994, in 2004, that we as Telecom Éireann might possibly have replicated the Dublin to Galway link. But I retired the following year and the idea died a death. It was also wonderful in the people I met along the way, and without whose enthusiastic cooperation, the project would never have happened. I think that would have been a pity because, after all, Richard Lovell Edgeworth was a truly remarkable man, and I like to think what we have done today honours him. My first contact was with the Maria Edgeworth Centre when I rather ambitiously entered an ode in their poetry competition. It didn't actually get anywhere, but that's neither here nor there. But one thing led to another, and I then met Matt Farrell, John McGurr, and Janine Roder, and they in turn introduced me to Dr. Joanna Wharton, who has kept a scholarly eye on us, which, believe me, is sometimes necessary for people like me who tend to go off at tangents and that type of thing. I then contacted Eliza in Tullynally, and she encouraged me to go ahead and introduced me to Octavia, who has been a great supporter. Like the Edgeworth family, who almost 230 years ago came together to make the event we celebrate today actually happen. Like them, my family came together to make my dream come true today. I especially want to thank my nephew John, who not only surveyed routes and made signal strength measurements, but he actually constructed the 2 semaphores we have used. Not only that, he and his wife Anne have actually staffed the Edgeworthstown semaphore today. My son Ray and his daughter Amelia have staffed the Tullynally semaphore. Finally, as there always has to be someone in charge, we have my son Ken, who has managed the very complex Zoom session. And I was absolutely astounded, really, by the complexity of trying to do this. And I'm sure Richard is up there somewhere smiling down on us and saying, God, I wish I had all that stuff in my day. But anyway, there you are. So thank you all for making this old communications engineer's dream actually come true. So Shin Jera Arthlor Aquina Ushla, Guramila Mahabib Galir, Agus Slana safe home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray. And a very good event, very interesting. Any comments you can bang into the chat box, or you can send messages on to the Maria Edgeworth Centre, which runs very interesting heritage events. And here we are operating from the conservatory on the eastern side of Tullynally Castle, which is a national gem, and it is open for public visits up to September, the end of September. So please remember that. I think from April through to September, and well worth a visit, and a great aspect of heritage in the Midlands here. So without further ado, I will draw it to a close. I will terminate the recording, and thank you all most sincerely for coming along to join us today.
Recording stopped.